Welcome to another lost gold tale of the Southwest Desert. Today, we delve into the tale of the Lost Don Joaquin Gold Treasure, a story of greed, betrayal, and hidden riches that continues to intrigue adventurers to this day. Our story begins in the rugged Estrella Mountains, south of Phoenix, Arizona. Here, amidst the harsh desert landscape stands a crumbling testament to a bygone era, the ruins of an old rock house. Its walls, several feet thick, bear silent witness to a time when danger lurked around every corner. Loopholes carved into the upper sections of the walls reveal the building's true purpose, a fortress against Apache raids. But this isn't just any abandoned homestead. According to local Pima and Maricopa Native American traditions, this site holds a secret that has remained hidden for over 170 years. In a cave near Montezuma's head, not far from these ruins, lies a treasure beyond imagination, 50 bars of gold and 30 bags of gold nuggets. The story of this hidden wealth is a tale of tragedy, a cautionary fable passed down through generations of Pima and Maricopa people. It speaks of a man whose love for gold led him to commit a heinous act, only to die without ever reaping the rewards of his ill-gotten gains. Thank you for joining your desert frontiersman, Alan. Please leave a like or comment. For more Southwest adventures, hit the subscribe button. Let's travel back in time to the year 1847. The Mexican-American War is in full swing, and rumors of an advancing American army have reached the ears of an old Spaniard named Don Joaquin Campoy. Don Joaquin, originally from Guadalajara, Mexico, had been operating a lucrative gold mine in the heart of the Estrella Mountains for years. In the canyon below the old rock house, one can still see the remnants of this once prosperous operation. The mine's entrance, now partially caved in, beckons to modern-day explorers. But in its heyday, this was a hive of activity, with Mexican laborers and local Native Americans toiling to extract the precious metal from the earth. The vein they worked was impressive, a true fissure cutting through the rock, striking northeast and dipping to the southeast. At the top of the shaft, an 18-inch vein glittered with free gold, promising riches beyond measure. The operation was extensive, with both shaft mining and open-cut excavations. Below the main workings, placer operations sifted gold from the canyon floor, adding to Don Joaquin's growing wealth. But as news of the approaching American army spread, fear gripped Don Joaquin's heart. Wild rumors circulated that these strangers had designs on the mines of the region, and that honesty was not one of their strong suits. Panic set in, and Don Joaquin made a fateful decision. He would abandon his mine and flee back to his beloved Guadalajara. However, he couldn't bear to leave his hard-earned treasure behind. Over the years, he had accumulated 50 bars of gold from the ore taken from the vein, and 30 bags of gold nuggets from the placer operations. This wealth, totaling an astounding 3,000 pounds of gold, represented years of back-breaking work and dangerous conditions. Don Joaquin's plan was simple, yet fraught with peril. He would discharge his crew, sending the Mexican workers back to Guadalajara and the local Native Americans to their homes in the valley. Then he would hide his treasure in a secret location in the mountains, intending to return when it was safe to reclaim his riches and resume his mining operation. But who among his crew could he trust with such a monumental task? He selected an old Maricopa Native American, a man he believed he could control, to assist him in this clandestine operation. With the rest of the crew sent on their way, Don Joaquin and the old Maricopa began the arduous task of loading the 3,000 pounds of gold onto the backs of 15 mules. As the last pack was secured, they set off on a treacherous journey into the heart of the Estrella Mountains. Their path took them up a steep trail toward Butterfly Peak, where they hoped to connect with another trail leading down a high ridge past Montezuma's head near the southern end of the range. It was a grueling trek, with the mules groaning under their precious cargo. As the sun began to set, the small caravan reached the summit. Don Joaquin and his Maricopa companion paused to rest, taking in the breathtaking view. Below them, to the west, at the bottom of a deep box canyon, lay the old rock house and mine workings they had left behind. To the east stretched the verdant valley, crisscrossed by the gleaming threads of the Salt, Gila, and Santa Cruz rivers. In the distance, the majestic four peaks stood sentinel over the upland plains, their snow-capped summits catching the last rays of the setting sun. But there was no time to linger. With darkness approaching, they began their descent toward Montezuma's head. Halfway down, they veered off the main trail, guiding their heavily laden mules into a short box canyon. Their destination lay ahead, a cave that would become the final resting place of Don Joaquin's treasure. As night fell, the two men worked in silence, unloading the gold and carrying it deep into the cave. Near the back, the old Maricopa dug a deep hole in the soft dirt and guano that had accumulated over countless years. One by one, they lowered the heavy gold bars into the pit, followed by the leather bags filled with placer gold nuggets. It was at this moment, with the last bag of gold safely deposited, that Don Joaquin revealed the true depths of his greed and paranoia. Without warning, he struck the old Maricopa with a club, sending the unsuspecting man tumbling into the hole atop the gold. In one brutal act, Don Joaquin had eliminated the only other person who knew the location of his treasure. Working quickly, Don Joaquin filled the hole with bat guano and dirt, erasing all evidence of his crime. He paused only briefly to survey his handiwork with grim satisfaction before marking the spot on a map he carried. With his terrible deed complete, he led the now empty pack train down the trail past Montezuma's head and out onto the flat country at the southern end of the range. Don Joaquin's plan was to catch up with his miners, who had made camp for the night near a small butte in the valley southeast of the Estrellas. As he sat around the campfire with his unsuspecting crew, a sense of confidence seemed to settle over him. He believed his secret was safe, his treasure secure, and his future assured. But fate had other plans for Don Joaquin Campoy. When the sun rose the next morning, the miners found their employer dead in his blankets. The cause of his death remains a mystery to this day. Perhaps it was the strain of the previous day's exertions, or maybe, as some like to believe, it was divine retribution for his murderous act. The miners, unaware of the drama that had unfolded in the mountains, laid Don Joaquin to rest at the foot of the small butte. But the story doesn't end there. According to Pima and Maricopa oral traditions, Don Joaquin's map fell into the hands of one of the Mexican miners upon his death. For 3 decades, this miner kept the secret of the map, perhaps biding his time or gathering the courage to mount an expedition. It wasn't until about 30 years after the signing of the Gadsden Treaty, which established the current border between the United States and Mexico, that this miner, now an old man himself, returned to Arizona. His goal was to relocate the mine and the hidden treasure using Don Joaquin's map. However, the passage of time had brought new challenges. The Apache were on the warpath, making travel in the region extremely dangerous. Moreover, the local Maricopa and Pima people, perhaps aware of the tragic history associated with the treasure, refused to guide him to the site. Faced with these obstacles, the old miner returned to Mexico, his dreams of wealth unfulfilled. In the years since, many have tried to locate Don Joaquin's lost gold mine and its associated treasure. The old rock house and the mine workings in the canyon below it have been examined by countless treasure hunters and curiosity seekers, including the author of our source material in the 1930s. Those who have studied the site confirm that it bears all the hallmarks of a significant mining operation. The vein is indeed a true fissure cutting through rock, with a strike of 30 degrees northeast and a dip of 40 degrees to the southeast. Traces of free gold can still be observed in the 18-inch vein at the top of the shaft, tantalizing evidence of the riches that once flowed from this remote location. The extensive workings, both in the shaft and open cuts, as well as the placer operations in the canyon below, suggest that this was no fly-by-night operation. Don Joaquin and his crew had invested considerable time and effort in extracting gold from this rugged landscape. But what of the treasure cave? Its location remains a mystery, guarded by the descendants of those who once worked for Don Joaquin. It's believed that some of the older members of the Pima and Maricopa tribes know the cave's whereabouts, but they refuse to approach it or guide others to it. The murder of their tribesmen has made the site taboo, a place to be avoided rather than exploited. However, there is one tantalizing clue that suggests the cave may indeed exist. According to local lore, two young Native American cowboys many years ago were caught in a storm while riding after cattle in the southern reaches of the Estrella Mountains. Seeking shelter, they stumbled upon a cave. As they huddled inside, waiting out the howling wind and driving rain, something strange occurred. Around midnight, as the storm began to abate, they heard a rustling noise just outside the cave entrance. Simultaneously, a weird white light suddenly appeared from the floor near the back of the cave. As quickly as it had manifested, the light disappeared, and the noise outside ceased. Could this have been the very cave where Don Joaquin hid his treasure? Was the light a supernatural manifestation of the tragedy that occurred there? Or perhaps it was merely a trick of the light, a reflection of the moon on rainwater seeping through the rock. We may never know for certain. Today, the Estrella Mountains stand as silent sentinels, guarding their secrets. Time and erosion have taken their toll on the trail that leads from the mine to the valley below. The many crosses chiseled into the boulders that line the path, perhaps markers left by the miners or memorials to those who perished in the harsh conditions, are now faded and difficult to discern. And what of the treasure? 50 gold bars and 30 bags of gold nuggets, the fruit of years of labor, allegedly still lie hidden in a cave near Montezuma's head. It remains undisturbed, protected by the rugged terrain, the dangers of the desert, and the reluctance of those who know its location to reveal its whereabouts. The story of Don Joaquin and his gold mine continues to captivate the imagination of treasure hunters and history enthusiasts alike. It serves as a cautionary tale about the destructive power of greed and the fickle nature of fortune. It reminds us that sometimes the greatest treasures are not those we can hold in our hands, but the stories and legends that connect us to our past. Thank you for joining us on this journey into one of the Southwest's most enduring legends. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and always remember, sometimes the greatest treasures are the stories themselves. Please leave a like or comment, hit the subscribe button for more desert romps. Happy trails!